Last October, that would be 2017, I found this Rock Island Armory MS Tactical Commander Size M1911 A1 45 ACP pistol on the used rack of a local gun shop. The gun appeared to be in really great condition, uh, didn't appear to have any issues with it, and frankly looked immaculate. It was hard to walk away from, and I ended up picking it up for $400 out the door. According to the guys in the shop, the gun was bought there and it was returned 2 weeks later, supposedly because the person who bought it wanted a higher capacity 9mm instead of the 45. I think the real reason he returned it was because of the issues I found. There were a couple issues I found, and we'll go through them as I discovered them. First, I went from the store straight to the range to give it a try and see how it would do. First issue I encountered with the Armscore magazine. I had two magazines with me. One was a Kimber, one was an Armscore, the magazine that came with it, the Rock Island magazine. And the Rock Island magazine gave me some failures to feed. Wasn't happy with that and would diagnose that when we got home. Next, I discovered the gun was 3.5 inches low. At first I thought it was me getting used to a new pistol, but after 150 rounds I was convinced it was the sights, not me. And then when I got home and wanted to break it down to check things out, I discovered that the reverse bushing and having to use the paperclip was also a pain in the butt to handle. So, had those three issues, and we'll now go about how we corrected them. One of the reasons the reverse bushing was an issue for me in particular was I'm left-handed. So although I was happy to have a pistol with an ambidextrous safety to suit my left-handedness, in order to break the pistol down, it was very awkward trying to balance the slide and to insert the paperclip. We pull it back more while the paperclip's being held in place, and then pop the slide stop. So, in discussing it with a gunsmith, I ended up having a second hole put in the guide rod, as you'll see. Also discovered that with all the handling between the gunsmith, myself, the shop, the gun was prone to getting scratched. The finish looks like it's a blued finish. Was very easy to scratch, and discovered that it fixes very easily with just a little bluing. Put a little bluing on, wipe it down, and you'd never know anything happened to it. Just looks perfect. So now we'll go about showing you what we did. And at this point, I have a highly accurate pistol. I'm very happy with it. If not more accurate, it is at least as accurate as my Ruger and my Kimber 1911s. And it is just a delightful pistol to use. The shorter barrel makes it easier to handle in many respects. The recoil's not bad, and it's, like I said, it's just a lovely pistol. So just a quick summary to recap. The issues I was going to have to deal with were 1, the guide rod, 2, the sights, 3, the failure to feed, and the finish I already mentioned. So let's get on with it. Because I'm left-handed and I have to do everything backwards with a 45, 1911, or most guns actually, using the paper clip in the hole was a royal pain. Just trying to balance everything and get the paper clip in and try and get it to stay in. As part of the process in doing our modifications, I had the gunsmith give me a second hole about 1/8 of an inch in front of the other. So now I can lock up the side stop, put in my wire, and then release the side stop, and I'm good to go. I can release the I can now remove the slide stop and take the gun down very comfortably. Also discovered the paperclip was a royal pain. Rock Island suggested using a small Allen wrench, but I ended up using 12 gauge wire. That fit in nice and snug and worked real fine. So, I can now take it down a lot easier with just a piece of wire without having to go through all sorts of gymnastics trying to hold the gun, hold the slide back, get the wire in. It's a process that really needs 3 hands. I've reassembled the bushing with the spring and the rod and reinserted the 12 gauge wire just so you could see how it worked. So again, just to repeat, I now just have to engage the slide stop. I can then insert the wire without having to hold it back beyond the slide stop. And once the wire's in, I can release the slide stop and let it go back to the groove so that I can now pop the slide stop out. So there you go. That modification was very handy. The first thing I did with the correction of the failure to feed, since it only happened with the magazine that came with the Rock Island, I stretched the spring on the magazine. I realized this may be a temporary fix, but my goal here was to get the gun functioning properly and locate the source. I can always worry about replacing the spring later, should it fail. So this seemed to help, and then I went on to polish the feed ramp and the barrel ramp, as you'll see. And the 2 of those, I haven't had a failure to feed since. As part of the process in trying to cure the failure to feed issue, I polished the barrel ramp, as you can see here, and in a second I'll show you the feed ramp. Here's the feed ramp that's polished down. That was on the rough side when I got it, and I figured anything that'll help the bullet slide to place will make it easier to feed. So I'm not sure what the issue was with the failure to feed, but it has not happened since I polished or fixed the mag. Now, the original sight was 5 millimeters tall at the highest point, and obviously it also was a blackout sight, so it was perfectly useless for night. Rather than send it back to RIA to have the sight adjusted for the proper field, I had Dawson night sights put on. And this sight was 3 millimeters high. And obviously we have the tritium in it. Okay, the couple millimeter difference made a huge difference in aiming. The rear sights basically were the same height, but now I have tritiums on the rear and the tritium on the front, and that made all the difference in the world. As you'll see at the end, the gun is now highly accurate. It was set up at 7 yards, 21 feet, which is what RIA uses for sighting in their pistols when they leave the factory. What they did with this one is beyond me, but this one was 3.5 inches low, as I said, and it was consistent at that. So after 150 rounds, I was convinced it wasn't me getting used to a new pistol. A short addendum to the sight issue. According to Rock Island, when I spoke with their gunsmith, they use Israeli sights. And the problem encountered here is they're done in millimeters as far as the dovetails go. And most of the sights available here are available using the English system. Therefore, the gun had to, or the sights I purchased had to be milled by a gunsmith. The results were good, but just to warn you, you can't just get a set of sights and hope they'll fit. You're going to have some machining done. And here are the results of the first box of ammunition I ran through the gun. These were reloads, not factory. They were lead, not jacketed, and they're 235 grain. So as things dialed in, it took obviously a couple shots to get used to, a couple quick shots that were a little off the mark, but things narrowed down, and I was very happy with the way things ended. Uh, that this gun just seems to shoot better than the other two 1911s I have. It's smooth, the recoil's not bad, and now the accuracy is there as well. So there you have it, and if you get one, enjoy it.